Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something that could completely change the way you look at your life. What if you stopped waiting for perfect days and decided that every single day would count? Not every day will be easy, not every day will be productive, not every day will feel inspiring, but every day can still move you forward. That is the power of a no-zero days mindset. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You need to refuse to let a day pass without doing something that makes tomorrow better than today. Let me ask you a question. What if the difference between the life you have and the life you want is not one giant decision, but what you choose to do with an ordinary Tuesday? Most people are waiting for a big moment to change their lives. They are waiting for Monday, January 1st, more money, more confidence, more time, or some sudden burst of motivation. But your life doesn't change when the perfect day arrives. It changes when you decide that even an imperfect day will count. Never letting a day go to waste does not mean you have to be productive every minute. Doesn't mean you need to wake up at 5 a.m., work for 12 hours, exercise intensely, and accomplish 10 goals before bedtime. That's not sustainable. The real principle is much more powerful. Make sure every day contains at least one action that moves you closer to the person you want to become. On some days, that action may be enormous. On other days, it may be incredibly small, but it must exist. Think about how powerful that becomes over time. If you read just 10 pages today, you've gained knowledge. If you exercise for 20 minutes, you've strengthened your body. If you spend 15 minutes learning a valuable skill, you've invested in your future. If you make one difficult phone call you've been avoiding, you've strengthened your courage. These actions may seem insignificant in isolation, but your life is not built in isolation. Your life is built through accumulation. What you repeat becomes your reality. Here's the trap that destroys progress. People believe that if they can't do something completely, they shouldn't do it at all. If they can't complete a full workout, they skip the gym. If they can't study for 2 hours, they study nothing. If they can't work on their business all day, they decide they don't have time. This is how 0 days are created. Perfection becomes the excuse for inaction. But what if you change the rule? What if you said, I may not be able to give my best today, but I can always give something? That single mindset shift can change everything. A bad workout is better than no movement. 10 minutes of focused work is better than another hour scrolling. One page is better than an untouched book. One uncomfortable conversation is better than another week of avoidance. You are not trying to prove that you're perfect. You're proving that you're consistent. And consistency builds something motivation never can: self-trust. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you become more confident in your own word. You tell your mind, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. That identity becomes powerful. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts becoming who you are. There will be days when you're tired. There will be days when you're disappointed. There will be days when nothing seems to go according to plan. Those are the days when the rule matters most. Don't disappear from your own life just because today isn't going the way you want it. Adjust the target, reduce the intensity, simplify the task, but keep moving, because years from now, you won't remember every small action, but those small actions will determine what your life looks like. The future you want is being constructed today quietly through choices nobody else may ever see. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't ask yourself, how can I change my entire life today? Ask something simpler and more powerful. What is one thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? Then do it. No matter how small, no matter how imperfectly, just don't let the day become 0. What do you do when the excitement disappears? What happens when you wake up and you don't feel motivated, inspired, or ready to attack your goals? That moment is where most people lose, not because they're incapable, not because they lack talent, but because they have built their progress around a feeling that was never designed to stay. Motivation can start the journey, but it cannot carry you through every difficult mile. If you want to build a life that genuinely changes, you have to learn to move even when you don't feel like moving. Think about how often you make decisions based on emotion. I'll work when I feel motivated. I'll exercise when I have more energy. I'll start tomorrow when I'm in the right mood. Sounds reasonable, but there's a hidden danger in that thinking. You're allowing your emotions to become a manager of your future, and emotions change constantly. Your goals cannot survive if they depend on your mood. Discipline begins where motivation ends. Discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It isn't about forcing yourself to operate at maximum intensity every day. Discipline is simply the ability to keep a commitment after the excitement has faded. It means you decide in advance what matters, and then you follow through even when your mind gives you a dozen reasons not to. There will be mornings when your alarm rings and your first thought is 5 more minutes. There, snorts, will be evenings when your plans feel exhausting. There will be moments when your progress seems too slow and you wonder whether any of it is worth it. Those moments are not signs that you should quit. They are opportunities to strengthen the identity you are building. Imagine telling yourself, I don't have to feel ready, I just have to begin. Get out of bed, put your shoes on, open the book, start the project, write the first sentence, make snorts the call, take the first step. You don't need to feel powerful before you act. Very often, action creates the feeling you're waiting for. This is one of the greatest secrets of personal growth. Confidence is frequently the result of action, not the requirement for it. You don't become confident and then survive the discomfort, learn from the experience, and become more confident because you proved to yourself that you could do it. And don't confuse discipline with perfection. You will have difficult days, you will miss a workout, you will lose focus, you may fall back into an old habit. The mistake is not falling short. The mistake is turning one imperfect day into an excuse for an entire week of surrender. Never let a temporary setback become a permanent identity. When you develop discipline, you stop negotiating with every excuse. You don't wake up every morning asking whether you're going to become the person you said you wanted to become. You've already decided. The question becomes, what is the next action? That decision creates freedom, because when you can act without waiting for the perfect emotion, you become harder to stop. Bad weather can't stop you. A difficult mood can't stop you. Temporary failure can't stop you. Other people's opinions can't stop you. Your motivation will rise and fall. That's normal. Don't fight it. Build something stronger than your standard. Set the standard that you show up. Set the standard that you keep your promises. Set the standard that even on difficult days, you will do something. You don't need to win every moment. You need to refuse to disappear when the moment becomes difficult. Motivation may get you moving, but discipline keeps you moving when the world gives you every reason to stop. What if the action you keep dismissing as too small to matter is actually the action that could eventually change your entire life? What if the 5 minutes you almost waste, the one page you almost don't read, the single decision you almost postpone is part of the foundation of the person you're becoming? Never underestimate a small action repeated with extraordinary consistency. Most people want massive results, but they don't want to respect the tiny behaviors that create those results. We live in a world obsessed with dramatic transformation. We see the successful person, the successful business, the strong body, the confident speaker, the impressive career, and we want to know the secret. We imagine there must have been one enormous breakthrough that changed everything. But behind almost every meaningful achievement is something far less exciting: repetition. One workout became hundreds. One book became dozens. One skill practiced for 15 minutes became thousands of hours. One courageous decision created another and another, until the person's entire life looked different. Your future is often hiding inside the actions you're tempted to call insignificant. Consider a person who decides to read 10 pages every night. 10 pages doesn't sound revolutionary, but over a year, that habit can become thousands of pages of new knowledge. Someone who saves a small amount of money consistently may not feel wealthy today, but that habit develops financial discipline. Someone who walks for 20 minutes every morning may not transform physically in a week, but months of consistency can produce remarkable changes. The lesson is simple. Don't judge an action by its size, judge it by its direction and repetition. A small action that moves you toward your goal is more valuable than a huge action you perform once and abandon. One intense day followed by 3 weeks of inactivity won't create the life you want. But a manageable action repeated every day can become powerful because consistency creates momentum. This is where many make a critical mistake. They think they need to completely change their lives before they can feel successful. They create enormous plans, impossible schedules, and unrealistic expectations. Then reality arrives. They miss one day, feel like they failed, and quit altogether. Instead, make your commitments so clear that you can keep them even on difficult days. If your goal is fitness, start with a workout you can realistically repeat. If your goal is learning, establish a minimum amount of study you can complete consistently. And if your goal is building a business, dedicate a specific amount of focused time to it each day. Make the action small enough to start, but meaningful enough to matter. There's another hidden benefit to small actions. They change your identity. Every time you keep a commitment, you're sending yourself evidence that you are capable of discipline. You stop seeing yourself as someone who always procrastinates and begin seeing yourself as someone who follows through. That shift is incredibly powerful. You don't need to feel like a completely different person before you begin acting differently. Act differently first, and your identity will eventually catch up. One day of effort may not change your life. One workout probably won't transform your body. One page won't make you an expert. One business idea won't make you successful. One action repeated hundreds of times can produce results that seem impossible when viewed from the beginning. So, don't wait for a giant opportunity. Don't ignore the small step because it feels too ordinary. Start with what is available to you right now. Make the call, read the page, take the walk, write the paragraph, practice the skill, save the money, have the conversation, then do it again tomorrow. Small actions are not small when they are repeated long enough. They are the building blocks of extraordinary lives. What are you waiting for? The perfect morning, the perfect plan, more money, more confidence, more experience? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The perfect moment you're waiting for may never come. And if you make perfect conditions a requirement for taking action, you can spend years standing in the same place while telling yourself that you are preparing to begin. Most people don't realize how expensive waiting can be. Every day you postpone the decision to start, you're not simply doing nothing. You're reinforcing the habit of hesitation. You are teaching your mind that discomfort means stop, uncertainty means wait, and imperfect circumstances mean try later. Eventually later becomes a lifestyle. But your life doesn't need perfect conditions. It needs movement. What could anyone who has built something meaningful? They started with incomplete information. They made mistakes. They changed direction. They learned while moving. They didn't have every answer before taking the first step. They understood something most people overlook. Clarity often comes from action. You don't always think your way into confidence. Sometimes you act your way into confidence. You may say, I need to know exactly what I'm doing before I start. But how could you possibly know everything before you've experienced the process? You learn by attempting. You discover what works by testing. You develop confidence by surviving mistakes. You become capable by doing things you were previously incapable of doing. Think about the person who wants to start exercising but keeps waiting for the perfect program. The person who wants to start a business but spends another year researching. The person who wants to write a book but keeps waiting until they feel inspired. The person who wants to change their life but keeps saying, I'll start Monday. Monday is not a strategy. Action is. You don't need the perfect plan. You need the next step. Maybe your first step is small. Maybe it's researching one opportunity. Maybe it's making one phone call. Maybe it's writing one page. Maybe it's walking for 15 minutes. Maybe it's putting your phone away for one focused hour. Whatever it is, take it because momentum has a remarkable effect on the human mind. Once you begin, resistance often becomes smaller. The task that seemed impossible becomes manageable. The fear that felt enormous begins to shrink, and suddenly, you are no longer imagining progress. You are experiencing it. Don't wait until you feel fearless. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement in the presence of fear. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be people who doubt you. There will always be obstacles you didn't anticipate. That's not a reason to stop. That's part of the process. And remember this, starting imperfectly is not failure. Refusing to start because you might be imperfect is the real loss. You can adjust your plan later. You can improve your strategy later. You can become better later, but you cannot improve something you refuse to begin. So stop demanding perfection from yourself before you've earned experience. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Give yourself permission to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to take an imperfect first step. Your first attempt doesn't need to be brilliant. It needs to exist. Start before you're ready. Move before you feel certain. Take the step before you can see the entire staircase. Because the life you want will not be built by waiting for the perfect moment. It will be built by using the moment you have. Who are you becoming when nobody is watching? Not who do you want people to think you are. Not who do you wish you could become someday. But who are your snorts daily choices actually turning you into? Because your future doesn't begin when you finally achieve the goal. Your future begins with the person you practice being today. Every decision you make is casting a vote for an identity. When you choose to get up instead of hitting snooze, you're voting for discipline. When you choose to learn instead of endlessly scrolling, you're voting for growth. When you keep a promise to yourself when nobody would know if you broke it, you're voting for integrity. These choices may seem insignificant in the moment, but they are quietly shaping your standards. And here's the part most people miss. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You repeatedly live at the level of your habits and standards. If you want a different future, you have to become capable of handling that future. You can't expect extraordinary results while maintaining ordinary standards. Maybe you want financial freedom. Then you have to become someone who understands money, controls unnecessary spending, develops valuable skills, and thinks long-term. Maybe you want a healthier body. Then you have to become someone who respects their health even when convenience is tempting. Maybe you want a successful career or business. Then you have to become someone who can tolerate rejection, learn continuously, solve problems, and keep moving when results are slow. A goal isn't simply to get something. The goal is to become someone capable of sustaining what you get. That's why your daily actions matter so much. Imagine giving an unprepared person the exact life they dream about. Would they know how to manage it? Would they have the discipline to protect it? Would they have the emotional strength to handle the responsibility? Sometimes the reason the goal hasn't arrived yet is because the person pursuing it is still being developed. Don't take that as an insult. Take it as an opportunity. Every difficult day is giving you a chance to develop the qualities your future requires. Every setback can teach resilience. Every failure can teach humility and strategy. Every uncomfortable conversation can strengthen your courage. You don't have to become your future self overnight. You just need to start behaving like that person today. Ask yourself, how would the person I want to become spend this hour? What would they say yes to? What would they say no to? What would they stop tolerating? What would they prioritize? What would they do when they didn't feel motivated? Then take one action that matches that identity, because identity is built through evidence. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm disciplined, but continually break your promises, your mind doesn't believe your words. But when you consistently follow through, even in small ways, you create evidence. You begin to trust yourself. And self-trust changes everything. You walk differently when you trust yourself. You make decisions differently. You stop needing constant approval. You become less interested in proving yourself to everyone else because you are busy becoming someone you respect. So, don't obsess over becoming perfect. Focus on becoming stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and more intentional than you were yesterday. Your future is asking you to become someone today that your present circumstances may not yet require. Build that person anyway, because when opportunity finally arrives, you don't want to spend your time wishing you were ready. You want to be ready because you spend every day becoming the person who could handle it. What if you stopped trying to change your entire life in one day and focused on doing one day well? What if your greatest breakthrough isn't waiting somewhere in the future, but hiding inside the next 24 hours? Most people overwhelm themselves by staring at everything they want to accomplish at once. They think about the career, the money, the body, the relationships, the business, the skills and the goals, and then the size of the map makes them freeze. You don't have to climb the entire mountain today. You only have to take the next step. Winning the day doesn't mean having a flawless day. It means making decisions that align with the person you want to become. It means waking up with intention instead of immediately surrendering your attention to distractions. It means identifying what matters most and giving it your best energy. It means doing something meaningful before the day disappears. You don't need to control your entire future. You need to control what you do with today. Think about how much pressure disappears when you stop asking, how am I going to accomplish everything? And start asking, what is the most important thing I can accomplish today? That question creates clarity. It forces you to focus, and focus is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Maybe today, your biggest priority is your health. Then win the day by moving your body and making better choices. Maybe your priority is your career. Then spend focused time developing your skills or completing important work. Maybe you're building a business. Then create something, contact someone, solve a problem, or take the next step. Your definition of winning may change from day to day, but the principle remains the same. Make today count and do something powerful. Don't underestimate the psychological impact of keeping promises to yourself. Every time you decide what matters and follow through, you strengthen your self-respect. You begin to believe I can count on myself. That belief becomes fuel for future action. But you will have bad days. You will miss targets. You will make mistakes. You will sometimes fall back into old habits. The goal isn't to eliminate those moments. The goal is to recover quickly. One bad day doesn't destroy your progress, but using one bad day as permission to quit can. If you miss your workout, get back to it tomorrow. If you waste the morning, don't waste the afternoon. If you made a poor decision, make a better one next. If you lost focus, return to the task. Your ability to restart quickly is one of the greatest forms of resilience you can develop. Don't demand perfection. Demand a return to the path. Imagine living this life for 1 year. Not one perfect year, just 365 days where you repeatedly return to your priorities. Some days you would move quickly, some days slowly, Some days you would take giant steps. Other days you would barely crawl forward, but you would keep moving. That's how extraordinary lives are created. Win today, then wake up and win tomorrow. Don't worry about being 10 years ahead. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Don't become obsessed with how far you still have to go. Look at the day in front of you. There is something you can do today. Do it. Then snorts, do something tomorrow and keep doing it until the person you once dreamed of becoming becomes the person you see in the mirror. No 0 days. No disappearing when life gets difficult. No waiting for perfect conditions. Just one meaningful day after another. One disciplined decision after another. One step after another. That is how you build your best life. So, make a decision. From this moment forward, no more 0 days. You don't need to conquer the entire world before sunset. You don't need to become the best version of yourself in 1 week. Just move, learn, build, practice, improve, repeat. One day matters, one action matters, one decision matters, and you have another day in front of you right now. Use it, because your best life isn't something you find, it is something you build one non-zero day at a time.